Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
August 29, 2020, the HerbalLife Settles edition. And we start with that story from Harry Casson over at the FCPA Blog. HerbalLife Nutrition agreed Friday to pay the Department of Justice and Securities and Exchange Commission $123 million in penalties and disgorgement to resolve FCPA offenses in China. The SEC order charged HerbalLife with violating the FCPA's books and records and internal controls provisions. The U.S. headquartered nutrition company agreed to disgorge $58.7 million plus prejudgment interest of $8.6. In the Department of Justice enforcement action, HerbalLife paid a criminal penalty of $55.7 million and entered into a 3-year deferred prosecution agreement. According to these documents, between 2007 and 2016, HerbalLife and wholly owned subsidiaries conspired with others to falsify its books and records and to provide corrupt payments and benefits to Chinese government officials. According to the SEC, HerbalLife China submitted an application to the Chinese government for its first direct selling license, which was ultimately granted. To facilitate this, HerbalLife China made improper benefits, including payments to government officials. So yet another U.S. company comes to grief in China. Will it ever end? Next up, from Chris Tomlinson, the business columnist at the Houston Chronicle, he opines that oil companies are following in coal's footsteps. And amazingly enough, he points to ExxonMobil, which in 2011 had a $400 billion capitalization and now is at $175 billion. States that, or at least believes, the oil business is no longer as important to the U.S. economy. And while oil executives talk about how their industry will bounce back after the coronavirus, the truth is their long-term sector is in decline. And he believes that businesses need to replace oil and gas, at least business leaders in Texas, to avoid an economic decay. While the coronavirus health crisis no doubt accelerated a process already in motion, travel restrictions and work from home have decimated the demand for oil. That's certainly the case in my household. And he goes through to talk about the write-down in assets. Shell wrote down $16.8 billion, BP $11.7 billion, Total $8.1 billion, and Chevron $4.8 billion. So will oil go the way of coal? It's only a matter of time. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, Stephen Cohen now appears to be the front runner to buy the New York Mets. So for those who remember Stephen Cohen, he was banned, former head funds manager who was banned because of his nefarious insider trading, having pled guilty in 2013 and paid a record fine of $1.8 billion. He later reached a civil settlement with the SEC that restricted him from serving as the supervisor of a registered fund until 2018, and he started again. So once again, baseball shows that it really doesn't care about the background of the potential owners as long as the color of their money is green. And finally, PPP fraud in the amount of $62 million already. It's only going to go up. Watch. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.